Hello guys, welcome to the Code to Coffee, and today we are going to learn the authentication and the authorization. Authentication means who you are. Let's say you have a particular ID or a key or a specific user. That's mean if I am asking you who you are, that's mean whether you are an authenticated person or not. The authorization means what you can access, whether you have a door access or a security check or whether you have a permission of any ticket. Right? Let's understand in a any application perspective. Okay, so let's say we have a client from where we are going to request for any data and have a server who is going to process that request and get the data from the database. Let's say client has access the information of user one. What the server will do, it will go to the database, it will check the user one the information. Okay, and this will respond to the client. So are we having the authentication and authorization? No, we are not, because server is not at all checking whether the client or the user agent have any identity or not, right? And also server is giving the data respond to the client. That's mean it is also we don't have the authorization here as well. So to make a authentication, what we can do while requesting the before requesting of any data, what client need to do, client need to register. Okay, client need to register, so it has to do the sign up, right? Let's say we have a path called auth sign up, okay, with the user ID, with the user email and the password. How it will do with the email and the password. Then user can log in with the user can log in here, log in with the same username and password. So for now, what is this? Email and password, right? In that case, after the login, the server will respond with the token. Server will respond with the token. Now, this token will use for any request. So we are requesting for the user one information. So along with the this request, we need to also send the token to the server, right? Now, server can identify with the help of the token whether the client is authenticated or not. Once the authentication is done, the server can now check whether the authenticated user has the authority to see the user one information or not, like this. So now we have a authentication and authorization, both are fulfilled here. Okay, let's understand by the code. Okay, we'll implement a small project, the express based application, to understand the authentication, the authorization. Okay, let's go to the VS code. So we have already a code here which has the no authentication, no authorization. What it will do, it will just simply you can create the user, you can get the user, you can get all the user. Okay, so this is the express based application where we have only the user endpoint. Okay, and we are using the Prisma to interact with the Postgres application. So let's run the Postgres database. Not here, we can run here or come up. Okay, if you want to know the setup, how I did this setup of the Express application and the Prisma, and the how the Prisma is interacting with the Postgres database. I have already created a video on the Postgres database. I'll mention into the description. You can just watch the video. Here we are not going to understand the Express application. We are not going to understand the Postgres and the Prisma. Here we are focusing on the authentication and the authorization. Okay. So what it will does, let's first understand the current application. Okay. So if you go to the Postman, right here, you can create the user, right? Let's create the user of user 3. The user is created. Now can you see this user? So what is the ID? The ID is this. This particular user can see his own data, right? But if we do try to get all the user, here you can see all the user also we are able to access, meaning so this anyone who is not the user is also able to access the data of the other users, right? Whether that's mean here also we are not checking, right? When we are doing the something like this, here also our server is not checking whether this particular user is authenticated or not. Okay, and when we are checking like all the user, then we are requesting all the user. Again, our server is not checking whether the user is authenticated or not. Even it is not checking whether this user is authorized or not, right? Let's do one thing. We'll create a login and a sign up and the login uh, endpoint to understand the authentication. Okay, let's go to the VS Code first. We'll create a endpoint for our authentication and we will say it the auth route. Okay, so all the request which will be coming on the uh, auth path that will go to the auth route. Okay, so for that thing we need to create the auth route here. So let's create the auth routes.js, and here we can have these two path. One is for the sign up, another is for the login, and this will go to the sign up controller and the login controller. Okay, so let's create the controller as well. We'll say auth controllers.js. The learn.js, and here what we'll do first, we'll create the the handler for the sign up. Okay, what we'll do here, we'll import a few things like bcrypt and JSON web token. Okay, so we'll do me go here and install the bcrypt npm I bcrypt and JSON web token. Okay, let's go to the VS Code. Here we'll code. Okay, first we'll take the import from the bcrypt and the JWT, and we'll create a handler for the sign up. What we are doing here, let's understand. So whenever a user will do request for the sign up, it will give the email, name, and the password in the body, right? We'll take everything from the body and we'll get whether this particular user is existing or not. When it is existing, that's mean the user is already there. So we do not need to sign up for that particular user, right? Then if it is not existing user, what we'll do, we'll hash the password into the hash and we'll store this hash password in our database, right? And once the hashing is done, we created the user, will be able to give the response like, okay, sign up is successful with this information like ID, name, and the email. That's all. That's mean in the database, we should also have the password, right? So what we'll do like, okay, we want the password as well here. Now here we'll do npx prisma migrate if, and we will say the password added, right? Can you use the prism get on system? Let's see whether the migration and it is done, whether we have any migration. to migrate from here. Name, pass. Won't change. Cannot mute it. Okay, it got changed. Sure why. Okay, save it. Okay, we are able to migrate for the password. Now in our server, we need to have the auth route as well. Port it right. So let's go for the auth route. Okay, in the auth route, we have the sign up and all. Yeah, we have now the user auth controller. We already implemented the sign up. Now we'll implement for the login. Okay. So in the login, what we'll do, understand this. In the login, first we'll take the email and the password, and whatever we have hashed password, right? We are going to compare that password of hashed with the password what the user is provided in the request body. Once both hash password and the provided password is okay, means both hash is matched, then we are saying okay, this is the authenticated user, and we will send the JWT token. Okay, that is what we are going to do. Let's do that thing. Here, what we are doing, we are taking the email and password from the request body, and we are going to get from our database that particular email. Whatever the password we'll get from the user from the database, that password we are comparing with the password that we got from the request body, right? Whether it's match, if it is match, if it is not match, we are saying okay, invalid credential, meaning if the password is not matching, in that case, this is the invalid. If it is the valid, we are going to sign in with the JWT. So this is JWT is nothing but a package from the uh, JSON Web Token, which will be helping, which will be useful for creating the token. Okay. Now after the sign in with the ID, email, and the password. Okay, we should also have the password. Okay, with the sign in of the ID and the email, we are going to create the token, and that token will expire in the 7 day, and that token we are sending with the saying okay, login successfully. Okay, let's save it and run the application. Let's run it. Let's go to our postman. Okay, one more thing, because in the sign up we are creating the user, right? Here we are creating the user. That's mean we do not actually require creating of user here, right? We do not actually require this thing, so we'll remove this one from here. And in the user route, because we don't have this create, we'll remove it from here as well. We'll remove it from here, right? Let's go here and create, see what happened. Okay, so here if you're giving again the user 3 and the user 3 email. Okay, so post, okay, we are not able to, we cannot create, right? So what we need to do, we need to do the sign up, right? So auth with the sign up, and we also need to give the password. Let's say I'm saying something user 3 password. Auth sign up is not there. Let's see, auth sign up is not there. Sign up is there, but in the server API auth, the API auth, API auth, valid create invocation. Okay, let's try one more time. Thing is password string, password available option. Okay, let me see. Okay, now we are able to sign up. Okay, let's try to get this user to go here. We are able to get this the data of a user 3. Okay, what I'll do, I'll go here. I'll say okay, I want the all the users, right? We have all the user. Let me create one more user with the user 4. So you can see all the user here. So now whether we have implemented the password thing. So now our application is authenticated and authorization proof or not. Whether so here you can see still our server is not checking whether any user has the authentication or not, because here no user is sending, right? So we are not sending any user related information from our request. That's mean without checking the authentication, our server is responding of the data. And here, if we try to see like this, now this user has the access of this data or not, that is also not been checked, right? That means not even authorization proved. So what we can do here to do the if whether the our application is authenticated or not. Let's implement the authentication first, then we'll implement the authorization. Okay. So what we want whenever we are requesting on the this user route, before requesting of this, we also need some check of whether we have a whether user is sending the token or not. Right? Let's implement that thing. Okay. So for that thing, what we'll do, we'll create some middleware. So before going to the request handler, our server will go to that middleware to check whether the user is sending the correct token or not. Okay, so let's create the middleware first. Okay, so in our src folder, we'll create the middle, and this middleware will have only auth middleware, where we will check. Now request and the request will come. We'll take the header from authorization from the header, and we will check verify, right? Here we are verifying whether the token is verified against our secrets or not. Let's say what is our secret. So here you can see our secret is nothing but the super secret. This is what we are going to check here, right? And this middleware we are going to use in our all the user route. So here you can do check like this. So currently I'm not sending this one. So let me just comment this. We are just checking whether it's decoded or not. If it is decoded, we are saying okay, now you can go ahead. If we don't find that whether the token is correct or not, then we will say okay, it's an invalid token, right? Invalid token, that's mean the user is not authenticated. Let's run this and we'll see. Okay, now, and when we'll get this token, when we'll do the sign login, right? So let's go here, and in our auth controller, whenever we are logging, we are also sending the token, right? Yeah, perfect. So let's create a this we already created, and we'll now sign up. Okay, so while signing up, what we need, what we do need to do, login, right? We'll log in with authorize bearer token, right? We'll give this particular. Okay, let me see in the login what we are giving, email and the password, right? Let's give the email and password. We do not need to give the name. Let me create one more tab for this. Here what we'll do the login, and we only need to give the email and the password. Okay. Let's okay. Server is not running, I think. Or okay, I think we just forgot to import here. Let's import it. Running. Go to the postman. Okay, auth login not found because it is get request. Actually, it should be post request, right? Where we have auth route. This should be post. We get it should work. We got this token. Now, without token, if we try to get this user, what it will do? Okay, let's see. The token is missing, right? Token is missing means our server is not able to identify whether this user is authenticated or not, right? So what we'll do, we'll give this token to our request. go there, we'll set this error token. Now let's send a request. See, now we are able to get the data, meaning our server is not now able to understand, okay, this user ID which have this token is nothing but the user 3 with the email and the name and all everything, right? But there's a one more thing. Let's say if I am removing this one, user don't know who is user, which user requesting, but it is sending with this token, right? Now you can see any user can access all the user information, right? That's mean any user shouldn't have the information, shouldn't have the authorization for accessing of all the user. So only this user should have the access of only his own data, right? But now if I removing this one, now this any user can access of any data. That's mean what we are reaching here. Here we didn't define the authorization for the user. We defined the authentication, but we did not define the authorization. So in that case, what we are actually doing, we have enabled the authentication, meaning now our server is able to understand, okay, whether the user is authenticated or not, right? But even if that user is authenticated, it doesn't have the access. It shouldn't have the access of the all the data, right? That's mean now we need to implement the authorization. How we can do that thing? Okay. So here in our demo, we'll do the role-based authorization. So if our user has the role as a, let's say, admin, then he'll be able to see the all the data, all the user information. But if he's just a normal user, in that case it should have only his own, it should have the access for his own data, not other user information. Okay, so for that thing what we'll do, we'll create one role here in our database. Let's create a role, and this role is nothing but an enum, which have, for now we'll have only two kind of uh, role. One is the user, another is the admin, right? This is what we are going to do. And so because we changed this database schema, so we need to migrate. We'll just migrate with the role, and we will just generate. Okay. Now, so whenever we are signing up, right, where we are signing up in the auth controller here, right? So while storing the data into the database, we also need to store the role as well, right? So let's store the role. We can say, okay, password and role also we will store. And here we can give the, okay, we can give the, yeah, that's sufficient, I think, yes. And whenever we are logging, we are logging, so we are giving all these information like JWT and all. And this JWT token is created based on the ID and the email. We also store the role into the our JWT token, right? So let's just put the role as well. Save it. Okay. Now, now we need to check whether that user has the admin role or not, because by default we are storing as a user role, right? So for that thing what we'll do, we'll create one more middleware for the checking of the role. So what will it say? The role middleware, right? Let's create a role middleware. Here we will just check whether the role include the role what we are getting from the request, right? That's all we will check. That's mean if role doesn't include the role, that's when we are saying no, you don't have the permission, whether it's allow or not, right? And what role we will check, we'll just pass with this middleware. Okay, so in every call of this user route, before auth middleware or maybe after auth middleware, we can just check the role middleware, right? Like this. So we need to also vote. Okay, while passing, we need to give the admin role. If we have the admin role, then only this get all users should be enabled, right? So I think that's all we have done. Let's go and see whether it's working or not. See now here you can see whether it is saying cannot read the property of undefined role. Okay, we don't have the role, that's why. So what we'll do here, we'll create one more user. Okay, there we will say 5 and 5. We created this user, and this user and the password we're going to log in. We'll get the token for the okay. And we'll go there and we'll just update this token and we'll try to see. Saying login. Just a second. Okay, so we have missed this one because we are going to get everything from the token, right? So whatever the decoded token, we need to give into the request. That request will now go to the another middleware here, right? Let's see now. So here you can see you don't have the permission. Now even token is valid, this token is valid, but still cannot access. It cannot access the information of any user, right? But what we'll do if this user ID is trying to access, then what happened? It is able to access. So now this user has the access, but other user doesn't have the access. That's mean now authorization is also implemented. Now that is also in place in our server. So that's how we have enabled the authentication and the authorization both in our application. Now any user had to sign up and had to log in, and after it should get the token, and this token had to send with the every request of the user endpoint, then it will work. And even it will send the token, but the all the user information is not available. It will be not able to access all the users, right? So all user cannot access for the other users. The only user which have the correct authorization, that only will able to access. Like, this user has the access of this his own data, right? Like that's how he is able to do. If we try to create one more user, let's say 6, and with this email and the password, try to log in, we'll get this token. Okay, but we are not using this token. What we'll do, we'll use the previous token of user 5. So this token is for the user 5, but the user is the user 6. This is the user 6, right? Again, now user 6 is able to access his own data, right? Its own data. Okay, now I have added here where I'm just checking the request param ID and the decoded whatever we are getting from the token, whether if both IDs match, then we are sending okay, this is the correct user. Otherwise, we are saying it's a not authorized user, right? So when user 6 is trying to access with the user 5 token, what we are saying, okay, it's not authorized. So user 6 cannot see the data of user 5. So if we'll do use this particular token of the user 6, okay, let's do one thing, then it should able to see its own data, right? So this is how our authorization is now working. Okay, so now this is how we have enabled the authentication and the authorization for our server. So thank you guys